Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thursday morning, a reading from Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. That's my book of meditations. And I've been doing these Thursday morning visits with you guys for a minute because I wanted you to buy the book. I still want you to buy the book, but I also have things that I feel like we need to hear every week because this is a very stressful time for everybody due to what's going on in this country. It's very, 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 I find that I'm very irritated. I'm very angry, even with what happened this week with Judge Eileen Cannon deciding to postpone the stolen documents trial for the former president. It just makes me so angry because I see these people with money getting away with stuff that we, the little people, would never be able to get away with. And I think it's wrong, and I think it's also scary. I think it's scary because this president, this former president, and his friends want to dismantle everything in this government that has really protected us. Even though we as African Americans still have had to struggle and probably always will, there have been some things in place that have helped us live at least somewhat decent lives. But these guys want to take away the freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, all of these different freedoms, and they have no regard for the well-being. They want to take away Medicaid and Social Security and Medicare. And I keep wondering what would happen to the old people, to the poor people. They don't care about that. They think that these things are entitlements, and they liken them to welfare, even while they take a lot of what I would call corporate welfare to get their wealth in cement and keep it there and use us to help make their wealth stay. So I'm just really irritated. And I think that it is reprehensible that this trial for stolen documents is going to be delayed indefinitely. What, are you kidding me? He has all those. We saw the pictures of all of these boxes and boxes, boxes and boxes of stolen documents in his home, and it's okay. It's just okay. So I get irritated even when we talk about the quote rule of law, because I'm thinking, what rule of which law are you talking about? And it's very, very, very troubling to me what's going on, and I don't think enough of us realize it. I hear people saying, especially uh, young black folks, millennials, and all those different categories below Gen Z, and saying there's no difference between Biden and Trump. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. President Biden has his issues. I'm not pleased with how he's handling the Gaza situation, the Israel Gaza thing. I'm not happy with that because it feels like he is condoning genocide. That is a whole other podcast. That's a whole nother session. But in terms of what he's been doing for the American people, he really has been chipping away at some of the things that have kept us bound. And very important, Donald Trump, he does weird things. Selling Bibles for $60. He doesn't know what's in the Bible. Anybody who stands up and says, "This is my favorite book and I like 2 Corinthians," what the heck? What are you talking about? So he then he went on this rampage. He's going to sell sneakers because black people like sneakers. And then he says this outrageous thing about that black people like me because I have a mugshot. They like that. It is also insulting. It is so insulting, and I don't know why more of us don't understand that. But this is what I do know. This is what I do know. We have to be steadfast, immovable, and working right now to make sure that we keep this guy from getting into office because he means us no good. One of the things I think a lot about, in addition to the Medicare and Medicaid Social Security thing, which they want to dismantle that. They want to dismantle it. But I think about how um, they want to dismantle public schools. They want to get rid of public education, and they talk about defunding the Justice Department and the FBI, and they also want to make it so that we our public education, our capacity for education is taken away. They want public schooling to go away, and they want schools to be everything is for profit, for profit, for profit. And I don't think that we understand how badly that will impact us in our communities. Um, I was reading about Ronald Reagan because I have always been very curious about why everybody says Ronald Reagan was the greatest president. I don't think he was the greatest president, not for the masses. He was a good president for the wealthy people, and he was the one that said he was going to have a campaign to make America great again. So this former president Trump took that line from Ronald Reagan. And what Ronald Reagan did, and it really bugs me, is that he was the one. In 1983, there were a series of amendments that were passed under Reagan's presidency, and these amendments included taxing a way to tax Social Security. Social Security. That happened in 1983, 1984. So now those who receive Social Security benefits, you get it taxed. And why did he did? Because he lowered the taxes of the very wealthy and made a tax and applied a tax to Social Security so that the people on the bottom would pay for the wealth of the people on the top. It's not right. It's not fair. And we have to know about that. Dr. Greg Carr talks about the power of the momentum of memory. We have to know what happened back then so that we can understand what's going on right now. And so I need for us to be vigilant. I need for us to be curious. I need for us not to get all of our news from our phones, from Facebook. That's not it. We need to find credible sources from which to get the news. And you don't have to look at it all day. I still say don't do that, but know what's going on so that you know what is at stake for you. What's at stake for you? And I also need for us to understand that it's not just the presidency that we have to be concerned about, but it is all of the local offices, school board, city council, state offices, all of that we have to be concerned about. And if we're not, we vote against ourselves. And at the end of the day, if we vote against ourselves, we end up in worse shape than we are right now. And I don't know about you, but I feel like we have come too far and fought too hard for us to just let it go down the drain because we're tired of this campaign. We're tired of the chaos. We're tired of all of it. We don't want to hear it. We like the confusion. We like all of that. This is not the time for that. This is the time when we have to be steadfast and immovable and to study, to show ourselves approved, study what's going on in this world so that we can help maintain the strides that we've made so that we can go further. Do you understand? This thing with Roe v. Wade, how that was undone, and now all of the things that they're allowing not the states to do to continue to undermine the rights of women, that's only going to get worse. I'm trying to tell you something on this morning. I really am. So I need for you to think about that. Every time I think about that, Reagan, everybody thinks he's such a good president. The trickle down economics. Did anything trickle down to you? It doesn't. It doesn't work. Trickle down. The wealthy get more wealthy, it'll trickle down. It doesn't. When the wealthy get more wealthy, they want to get more wealth and they use us to get it. That's it. So I need for us to just stop and think and pray and pause and meditate and then be very intentional about learning what's going on. Know what's going on, Project 2025. And we're going to be holding, Crazy Faith is going to be, I'm going to conduct a couple of little workshops on Project 2025 so people know what's going on because it's a big document, over 900 pages. But I do need for you to go to that website, project2025.org, I think it is, and look it up. See what is at stake for all of us. We got people in office who don't want women to vote. What? Are you kidding me? They want to take not just 50 years, they want to take us back 45, 50, 75, 100 years. They want to go backwards. Life is not about going backwards. We have got to want to go forward and do the work that it takes to go forward. We are going against the headwind, but we have the power to do it. So that's my tirade for this morning, but I'm just irritated. I just irritated that these trials, the trial, Fani Lewis's trial, should have been happening now, but now they're still working. Now they're still working, even though she got up underneath, away from that situation, which I'm disappointed about her being in. But anyway, that trial should be going on now, and it's a no-brainer. We have him on record, audio record, trying to undermine the election. It's a crime, but he's getting away with it. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you guys, we have got to wake up. We have got to wake up, be woke, wake up, and do what we are called to do, and go back and read some of the history. If you don't want to read it, if we can set up some seminars so we can tell you the stories of how we got over so that you will know, because the momentum of memory, as Dr. Greg Carr says, is powerful. When you don't know what was behind you, you can't see what might happen in front of you. That whole principle of Sankofa. And so we have got to know where we were, how we got to where we are, and where we want to go going forward. Y'all hearing me? Are you hearing me this morning? Please. So anyway, my tirade is over. Welcome to this reading of a meditation from my book, Rest for the Justice-Seeking Soul. And that's kind of like almost inaccurate because that book has 90 meditations in it. And I've been writing meditation for every Tuesday for a number of years now. So sometimes I read right from the book, and sometimes I read you the meditation that I sent out on the previous Tuesday. So this week I sent out a meditation called Save Me, Joe Louis. I was so moved by um, something that I read, and I saw that a man sentenced to death um, as he was right before the lethal injection began. He said, Save me, Joe Louis. So I want to read this meditation to you this morning. Dr. Martin Luther King Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in his book, Why We Can't Wait, a recollection about a young black man who was the first victim of a new method of execution adopted by southern states. Instead of lynching, Dr. King wrote, quote, poison gas supplanted the gallows, end quote. He writes, as the pellet dropped into the container and the gas curled upward, Dr. King wrote, through a microphone that had been placed in the death chamber so that people could hear the words of a person as he was being executed. Those observers heard him say, Save me, Joe Louis. Save me, Joe Louis. End quote. The description of that scenario rocked my soul. It seemed strange that those would be the last words of this condemned man. But Dr. King observed that the words revealed the hopelessness and the, quote, profound despair that Black people felt in that period. He wrote, the condemned young Negro, groping for someone who might care for him and had power enough to rescue him, found only in the heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Louis, would care because he was a Negro. Joe Louis could do something because he was a fighter. In a few words, the dying man had written a social commentary, not God, not government, not charitably minded white men, but a Negro who was the world's most expert fighter in this last extremity was the last hope, end quote. What a pathetic reality. That someone would die someone would die with that kind of hopelessness and despair all in his soul, that kind of heaviness made my own breathing grow heavy. And yet there are still too many people who are scratching their way toward hope. They are pushing through deep and muddy waters of despair on their way to the surface, trying to hold their breath long enough to get to the surface so they can breathe and live. He wrote that book in 1964, Why We Can't Wait. He wrote it in 1964. Today, 60 years later, Black and brown people and marginalized people of all ilks are still fighting despair and a sense of hopelessness. The clutches of evil do not lessen. If anything, the more their prey fight to get free and stay free, the tighter they grip, using power that they did not earn. DEI, did not earn, to keep the masses under their control. Their work is about control for the sake of the acquisition and the maintenance of power and money. The masses of people need to be kept, they believe, under their control for them, the wealthy, to realize their goals. But there is something about having been in despair due to injustices suffered that the powerful do not know, and that is that it allows God's Spirit, God's Hesed, to grow wild within us. We often do not know that it's growing, but as our spirits cry out, and God hears and plants the seeds of hope and steadfastness that are within all of us, it's a major accomplishment. Every time we cry out, every time we mumble and stumble and have to fight to stand up, God waters those seeds of hope and fight and determination so that hope grows despite all the efforts and actions take to make it die. That young Black man died, it seems, with nobody there who knew him. He could not see God, and perhaps because of what he had gone through, maybe he had lost hope and faith in God. That would not have been unusual. Too many Black people were executed and put into prison for life, for things that they did not do, but were labeled guilty by juries filled not with their peers, but rather with people who inherently believed, no matter the facts presented, that they were guilty. I wonder who they cried out to. George Floyd called for his mother. People cry out in the depths of their despair for those whom they love and for those whom they think have the power to save them. That young man believed in Joe Louis. He did not know him personally, but he had felt him and seen him and internalized the strength that he saw in Joe Louis. We still need to be able to call out to someone as we wrestle with evil. That young man called out for Joe Louis. So my question is, for whom will we call? For whom do we call on a daily basis? As we call, our seeds of hope inside of us will be watered by God. And that thought should give us enough air to push through, enough determination and enough residual air in our lungs to push to the surface of the waters of injustice that want to drown us, and exhale and inhale the beauty and the power of the breath and the air of freedom and determination that we need in order to fight this fight. Something to think about. Amen and amen. That is our meditation for today. I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that you will go to our YouTube page, Crazy Faith Ministries, Columbus, Ohio. We have a YouTube page. Go there, subscribe, and like it. And I hope that you will share this time of meditation with your friends and family. Um, if you are interested in being on our distribution list for the meditations, you should email us at crazyfaith2019@gmail.com. Crazyfaith2019@gmail.com. And as soon as I get those requests, I put you on the distribution list. So we invite you to do that. And as I leave, I want to repeat that this is a time for us to be working, to organize and mobilize, but to know why we are organizing and mobilizing. If you find yourself saying there's no difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I need for you to stop and look back through go to some of the, there's so many sources that tell our history. Go back and read about how many Black people were lynched with no evidence. All the stuff that that we have been through, it's all documented. But also, as you read and study, read how our ancestors fought through it. You read to see the suffering, but you also read to see the victories that we've had because we grabbed hold of this right to vote, which they want to take away, and we made changes happen. That is who we are. That is who we are. That is who God intends for us to be. So that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful day, this 9th day of May in the year of our Lord 2024. I hope that you're staying safe. There's bad weather going on all over the country. Stay safe. Be steadfast. Be vigilant. And be intentional about saving the rights that our ancestors fought so hard for us to have. And I'll